Thank you for listening to a nighttime adventure bedtime story from nighttimeadventures.com. Visit our website to view hundreds of exciting bedtime stories for children of all ages.
The Nighttime Adventures of Miko, The End of the Rainbow. Miko was a curious and adventurous cat who loved exploring new worlds. Every night, as he drifted off to sleep, he found himself transported to exciting and magical places. And tonight was no different. As he closed his eyes and drifted off to sleep in his cozy cat bed, Miko felt a sense of anticipation. He knew that tonight's adventure would be something special. He didn't know where he was going, but he was ready for whatever lay ahead. When Miko opened his eyes, he found himself standing at the edge of a rushing river. In the distance, he could see a rainbow stretching across the sky. Miko knew that he had to follow the rainbow and find out where it led. As he started to walk along the riverbank, Miko heard a rustling in the bushes. Suddenly, two kids appeared, a young boy named Carter and a young girl named Kira. They had a raft, and they invited Miko to join them on their adventure. Miko was thrilled. He jumped onto the raft, and they started to float down the river. As they floated along, Miko couldn't help but notice the beautiful scenery all around them. The trees were tall and green, and the sun was shining down on the water, but as they floated farther downstream, they could hear the roar of falls up ahead. Miko's heart raced as they approached the edge of the waterfall. He gripped the edge of the raft tightly as they went over the falls and splashed into the water below. When the water settled, everyone looked up and could see the end of the rainbow. It was a magical sight, the colors shimmering and dancing in the air. Miko knew that they had to get to the end of the rainbow to find out what was there. They paddled their way towards the end of the rainbow, and as they got closer, they could see a treasure chest gleaming in the sunlight. Miko's heart raced as they pulled the raft onto the shore and raced towards the treasure. When they opened the treasure chest, they couldn't believe their eyes. There were piles of gold coins, jewels, and even a map that led to more treasure. Miko was amazed. He had never seen so much treasure before. But then he remembered something important. He turned to Carter and Kira and said, "We should share this treasure. We can use it to make the world a better place." Carter and Kira agreed, and they spent the rest of the night coming up with ways to use the treasure to help others. They knew that with this treasure, they could make a real difference in the world. As the sun started to rise, they packed up the treasure chest, still discussing more ways to use the gold for good deeds. Suddenly, they heard a loud whooshing sound above them. Looking up, they saw a giant hot air balloon floating over the rainbow. A man's voice boomed out, "Hello down there! Need a ride?" Miko, Carter, and Kira looked at each other in amazement. They had never seen a hot air balloon before, let alone been invited for a ride. They excitedly replied, "Yes please!" The balloonist, whose name was Jason, skillfully guided the balloon down to the ground. He helped them load the treasure chest into the basket and gave them all a safety briefing. The burners roared to life, and the balloon began to rise into the air. Miko, Carter, and Kira clung to the basket, their hair blowing in the wind as they floated higher and higher. They soared through the rainbow, the colors swirling around them. They could see for miles around, the green forests, sparkling lakes, and rolling hills all spread out below them. Jason was an excellent pilot, pointing out different landmarks and sharing stories with them about his many balloon adventures. He even let them help steer the balloon, which made the children feel like they were flying the magical vessel themselves. As they flew closer to the rainbow, the colors around them intensified. It was as if they were swimming in a pool of shimmering jewels. Miko could hardly believe his eyes. He had never seen anything like this before and realized he may be the first cat to fly in a hot air balloon. After a few minutes, they descended back down to the ground. Jason expertly landed the balloon and helped them unload the treasure. They exchanged hugs and thanked him for the amazing ride. As they walked away, Miko, Carter, and Kira looked back at the balloon, watching it slowly lift off the ground and float away. Jason yelled from the basket, "I can't wait to hear all the good you are able to do with that treasure!" All three of them waved at Jason, knowing that they had just experienced something truly magical and that they would never forget this adventure. With their hearts full of excitement, Miko, Carter, and Kira made their way back home, their minds buzzing with all of the possibilities that the treasure held. They knew that they had the power to make a real difference in the world, and they couldn't wait to get started. Miko knew that it was time for him to go back to his own world. He said goodbye to Carter and Kira and promised to come back and visit them in his dreams. With a sense of wonder and excitement, Miko slowly opened his eyes and realized that he was back in his cozy cat bed. Miko had a good feeling in his heart about the adventure he just went on, and he knew that his dreams would continue to take him to new and exciting places.